that conversation with you. I think we spent the Monday evening, didn't we? Or maybe at the weekend, and you just talk through, the role and what you need to look, and I think you really helped me application form and sort of, and really pointed out where I needed to sort of target my evidence, and I think that was key. I can't say throughout my career I was never had a back, if you get what I mean. I think that's what people say in the policing world, and so I never really had a sort of that type of thing. So that was really important. It was almost like having a backer. It was only a short journey, but it was the most valuable journey in life journey that I've had today. Just having you on my shoulders, just to bounce off was really, really important, because it wasn't just mental. It wasn't just mental. It was just, mate, a friend, knows what you're going through. We had honest conversation, knew where to be, and that was really important.
Hi, Brian. Thanks ever so much for agreeing to be interviewed on the Blue Light Leavers podcast. I'm really excited about this one because obviously we've worked together. I know your story really well. And I think, from a retired cop's perspective, I think this is going to really be helpful for a lot of people. So thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed.
I'm delighted to be a guest of yours today, Andy.
Thanks, mate. So let's talk a little bit about. I'm going to hang fire in terms of what you're doing now, because I'd like to leave that a little bit later, and it will make sense for people as we go through. But it'd be really good to hear what you did previously, a bit about your policing career, how you approached retirement, how you felt about it, and we'll go on from there if that's okay. So tell us a little bit about. Don't necessarily need to talk about which force you're in or anything like that at all, but we'll talk about, the career that you had.
Yeah, as I say, sort of younger days, I did 5 years in the Marines and then joined I joined the police in 1992. And fairly early on in my career, it was obvious that I wanted to go down the CID route, and that's what I do. So within a couple of years, I did my CIDA chip and went on to the sort of reactive CID, dealing with the proactive and reactive investigations. A couple of murder inquiries that were worked on, and within that was obviously post-mortems and some real big cases that were mostly sort of quite challenging, but really good to have experienced that young part of my service and still be in good stead in the future. And then from there I sort of realised that obviously my specialism really was around drugs and looking at that, so I went on the normal they had the SIT teams then, when they special initiative teams and things like that in the 90s, so they were good days sort of doing drugs warrants and things like that, and which then obviously led me to join the county drugs team as well. So that was more of a sort of local force-wide drugs team. So we do jobs, sort of test purchase jobs, sort of importation jobs, and a huge variety of drugs types of jobs, So, and I sort of built my expertise up in there as well. So I was getting, in the end, I was a sort of witness, sort of specialist witness in drugs side of things, and drugs evidence. So I did that, and then sort of I really got, I think probably after a short period of time, 2000, something like that, I got fed up of going to the Globe Theatre, which is where it all pans out in the sort of investigative world, where I was turning up once every 3 years, whatever it was, of course, and they weren't interested in what my evidence, what Brian Faints had done. They were just interested in attacking my character, and and as barristers are paid to do. And so I thought I wanted to change the direction, so I went into intelligence, and really then started to specialise. And the great thing about that is actually you could tell you could dictate as to what you told the barrister, but also you could dictate how the trial was going to go and what can be done. So to specialise in that was a real turning over of the sort of taking over control of the situation. So they were not in a Globe Theatre. It was all about how I can dictate to them what's the way forward, because my knowledge of that specialism was as such, So I sort of joined the National Crime Squad. Did 3 years there, working out of D-side which is in North Wales and Liverpool. And I took the opportunity to take my exam then. That's about 13 years in. So worked with some really good guys and students, and I thoroughly enjoyed that area of work. And then after that, I was just about to come back at the end of my secondment of 3 years, and then I was approached to join Force Intelligence Bureau. A long-term friend now, and colleague who had not met previously, knocked on my door. He said, "Would you like to come and join us?" And the interview process was available, and I spent 6 great years in Force Intelligence doing intelligence cells for murders, for sort of drugs jobs, for human trafficking, and developing lots of really good stuff and interesting areas of work. And then sort of get to 2012ish, and the National Crime Agency, SOCA, the National Crime Agency, come into effect. I set up the Organised Crime Coordination Centre with a number of other officers and other agencies. It was really first multi-agency around organised crime. So it was really a great honour to be involved in that, although people may look at it cynically. But I was a great believer in that. Actually, it was the best opportunity to find out which was the most the greatest threat to the UK, really, and who we could target the right people. And it was a process that actually dictated, instead of someone saying we're going to deal with this type of thing, because I'd felt that previously in intelligence, where you sort of force crime operations and say, well, we're going to deal with what we want to deal with, not what the intelligence is telling us. So I was a great believer in that tasking and coordination process, and your resources being targeted at the people who are creating the biggest threat harm risk. Mm-hmm. So I did that for 3 years, really thoroughly enjoyed it, but obviously there's no chance of a DS there and no chance of promotion. So again, out of Force, so you get the opportunity. I took my inspector's exam, and so by sort of 2015, I was sort of ready to go back, hoping to get an opportunity to go and do some acting in the Force. And as it was almost as if they called me back early, and so I got right, great, what my job, and then it was like serious and organised crime, and we're going on that. No, it was the rape unit. So I spent 4 months on the rape unit, and then there was placed in the fraud. Almost sort of felt like we've got you back, but we don't really know what to do with you. So we put me in a fraud unit, and that's when I was like, fraud has never been my background, as you can see from serious and organised crime and intelligence. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing about fraud, actually, it's shaped my life for the future, for where I am now, and that was sort of, in fact, that's what I identified was that there was probably 5 or 6 investigations that were ongoing from the fraud team that were involved in problematic gambling, and the criminality linked to that was quite phenomenal. Hundreds of thousands of pounds. And when I looked round and saw what was happening, like for drugs and alcohol and what was available to people, there was nothing there. So I started sort of looking at how best we can perhaps help the offenders. So I spent most of my life and almost my career putting people in prison, but I thought, well, these people need help more than, because the money's gone. There's no sort of value from that. In sort of, yes, if they need to go to prison, they go to prison. So I started sort of linked in with sort of national bodies, and what it is that it's funded. The treatment and training and awareness is all funded by the gambling companies, ironically, and I linked in with a guy called Neil Platt, who's a chief clinician for Beacon Council Trust. And basically what we did, we trained up all the liaison and diversion police officers within the custody suites, and we put a pathway in place. So you would screen the individual as they come in, like you would do for mental health, like veterans, like drugs, like alcohol. There's an indication there was any gambling-related issues. Then they would then be referred into treatment, and within 2 days they would get access to a telephone assessment, and within a week they would start the treatment plan. That was all free of charge.
That's incredible.
So I did that sort of probably on and off for about 2 or 3 years. Whilst I was really enjoyable, the fraud side of things. Won a national award because no one had ever seen it. Howard Lee for Penal Reform. I'd had sort of over 500 applications, but it'd all been drugs, alcohol, mental health, or no one had ever done gambling. So much so it's quite ironic, actually. They put together a sort of, I suppose, a programme, and they've now put the gambling rates harm links to crime commission. So they've got a 3-year commission, basically on the back of the work that I did, and they've got 1.8 million, I think, from the Gambling Commission, and they're still running that programme. Unfortunately, I wasn't invited, so I had to. I've had to do it elsewhere, become a consultant. So yeah, I did that, and then obviously I was very fortunate enough after 3 long, hard years, I got my temporary promotion as to on the head of custody investigation. So I oversaw all the investigation officers and the challenges with the 50 staff in the 3 different suites. So it was a really enjoyable sort of worthwhile sort of end to my career. I think it was a good way. In fact, I did an extra 14 months because it was not only was I enjoying it, but it was in my best interest. So, and that's really where it was. But then, just about 3 or 4 years prior, I was involved in running boys and girls football teams and Cheshire Police football teams and veterans teams and things like that. And I was approached for my girls team to play an Australian touring team. So I set up a really nice location with some food on and hosted them. And I got talking to a very good friend of mine who is now a friend of mine, who was one of the CEO of the company. And it was a sports store company. And so that's when I started my sort of declared business interest in being a tour representative. So my love of football has always been there. And I had the fortune to sort of go to a number of Chelsea, Liverpool, Palace, all sorts of all the training facilities, all the football matches, all sightseeing. So I did that over a number of years and throughout Europe as well. So a good use of, I'm not sure my wife would agree with that, but good use of my time off from a personal perspective. So yeah, and really, obviously, and that's really where sort of I did my probably 14 months, and that's really where my career. So in the police, I got offered a full-time job with the sports store company as a head of UK and Northern Europe, and I did just sort of, and that's really what juncture was handy.
So that was just to make sure I've got this right. So that was while you were still in the job, or it was just after leaving? Well,
I got offered the job in Portugal while I was still in the job, which then prompted me to retire.
Gotcha.
Because sort of, I wanted to leave. I wanted to get another job, but I didn't feel I wanted 6 months off or 12 months off. I wanted to carry on working, and I knew the CEO was a really good guy, and I just wanted to sort of, it was like a busman's holiday, I thought.
Yeah.
4 days a week, play golf on Friday. That was everyone's a winner, So that's what I thought at the time. But it was a lot more challenging. But yeah. So that was prompted me to retire in 2019.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess towards the end of your time, then you're actually fairly comfortable because you had something to go to. You got that relationship, you built that rapport. And again, what I love about this, I rattle on about this sort of stuff all the time, is about, you're only ever one conversation away from something that could be quite life-changing, and it's the power of networking and that sort of stuff. And we talk about networking, but it is literally just having a conversation with someone, isn't it? And things can just develop from there. And it's really important to do, and I think that's fantastic. So what happened then? Because when you and I started talking, which would have been early 2020, where were you at that point? What had happened? Because the person that you're talking about and the trip to Portugal and all these sort of things and the work you were doing seems quite different to where you and I started chatting. Because when you and I started chatting early 2020, it was, I remember you saying, you felt a bit lost and you weren't really sure. So what happened in that period then?
Well, what happened was I sort of started. I left the police in January 2019, and then obviously started the week after in a sports store company, and it was fairly full on early doors, because there's a number of tours coming up in April. Our main peak season are April, May, June, July, because it was the Women's World Cup in France, and we had sort of 700 clients going over from there, and we were working with a third party in France. So it was logistically you coordinating that. So initially, the first part was we had sort of a couple of big groups over to Belgium and Holland. So we were looking after them. So that was a great trip to Ghent and right the way through Holland and Amsterdam. And then once that was finished, we were straight into the groups going over to France, to Lyon and Paris, and sort of trying to implement different processes. In a private business, I think it becomes a lot harder. But done a bit of a sort of gives a report on things and red, amber, green, and then things that you want to hopefully develop the company you're working with. But I think that wasn't the case. They didn't want that side of things, which I thought was really interesting, because again, I've always been about sharing knowledge, and that's what really from the police what I want to do. I want to share my experience, share my knowledge, and share sort of anything I can with different people. And I think the private industry, because it can be in some places they're quite open, receptive to it, but in others say we do it this way, and that's fine. That's fine, because that's where you are. So I think the key was that the CEO who I mentioned early on, who'd been working for a number of years, he left the organisation, set himself up in another area of business. And I think the boss, who was away out of the country, living in Portugal, thought that I was going to go with him. It was a completely different business. So he started to really check on my work and what I was doing and all that. And I'm not like that. And there was no way I was, gonna go with the CEO, because he wasn't even setting up his own company anyway. And so it was a bit of a shock, really. So we did the France thing, the 700, which was great. It went really well. There was some family illnesses, and which obviously made you realise, you're working, sort of, it started to become a 7-day-a-week type thing, and with the combination of being almost, what's the best way to describe it? We've micromanaged. I work best when I sort of, you give me the task and I'll achieve it. You give me a time scale and a task and I'll achieve it for you. And never let anybody down. Unless something major happens, then that thing. And that's what starts out. So by the end of sort of July, I said, look, I'll give my month's notice. I'm going end of August. It was just that 7 days a week, the demands, the lack of trust, and private industry is a different challenge, and the CEO I was working with was a friend, so there's an obligation to a friend as well, but obviously he'd walked away and for his own reasons, so that left me sort of, I thought, well, I'll go and have a little break now, I'll have that little break. So I went on holiday, went to France, and spent a bit of time in the house I had there, and just really recharging batteries, and sort of, so right, I'm ready to go, November, ready to go. Probably in hindsight, November, December is not the best time to start looking for jobs.
No, generally speaking.
Actually, saying COVID, I should know better.
Yeah. I mean, even with COVID, it's not great. So you're right. November, December are quiet, definitely. Yes,
yeah, and I think that's really, I apply for a number of roles every day, because you're at home, you're applying for roles every day, and you're going through that sort of personal journey, what we've done wrong, what we're doing. You get different people's advice and things like that. And you just, you sort of just waiting you're almost like waiting every day as to what email is or what job's coming out, and sort of, I'd say desperate lost, I'd say, Andy, really, probably. I know that it seems strange just 2 months in, why don't you enjoy your time? But that wasn't, I didn't feel at that time, that wasn't me. I wanted to work, continue to work. I'm young, and I wanted to share my knowledge and my experiences, and share what work and help other people, really, and just help them. So that's when we started. I'm not, I can't remember. I think it was either on Facebook or something like, or LinkedIn or something, that started to see a thing, and thought, actually, that really sort of, just from the first time I spoke to you, I felt comfortable with you, and you understood me, and I felt sort of valued, and I think that was really key. I think that would, and look, you've not, and that reassurance that you've not, you've not wasted your police career. You've got loads of skills. You've just got to bring you on. You've just got to bring that out in your skill set. Yeah. So that's what really went, taking us to the January. That's where I was really, lacking in confidence, lost control. Not had an interview, not getting any responses from the applications. So it started to pick up a little bit in respect of, so I went to the College of Policing. Someone referred to the College of Policing for an assessor's course. So I did that in the January, which was, and I met up with, I didn't know the girl was going, but I met up with the girl who I used to work with years ago, and that was really nice as well, to sort of be back in that police environment, and just sort of, although it was challenging, very challenging, but it was a good week.
Yeah.
So that's where it was in January, and that's when we started working together.
Yeah, no, definitely. And sorry about the knocking in the background. Typically, we just had an Amazon delivery, so yeah, sorry about that. If you can't really edit that out either, so
no, you can't.
So people are just going to have to listen to the Amazon man knocking on the door. Yeah, and we did it. And your story from there, Brian, is fantastic. And obviously, we basically you agreed that you felt you needed a bit more structure and a bit more guidance around what to do and how to go about doing it. And so you joined the Achievers program, the program I run, and with a few others, and we made some really good friends on that as well. Actually, it's just such a lovely group of people. And things started to move quite quickly for you, didn't they? So just talk about where we went from there, and obviously particularly around the interview prep was key for you, wasn't it? Because you excuse me, you got through to a couple of interviews.
Yes.
And you sort of lacked a little bit of confidence in certain areas, didn't we? So you worked a bit more on those, didn't you? And talk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, to say, obviously, I joined up with Red Snap, and they put me forward for a senior investigator's role in Scotland. It wasn't. It was actually virtually 2 years to the day. Was it 2 years? 1 year to the day?
Yeah.
It was on my birthday in terms of February last year. It seems, I keep saying 2 years, but it was last year. And obviously I was travelling up to Hamilton for the interview, and I think for me it was like that conversation with you. I think we spent the Monday evening, didn't we, or maybe at the weekend, and you just talk through, the role and what you need to look, and I think you really helped me application form and sort of and really pointed out where I needed to sort of target my evidence, and I think that was key. I can't say throughout my career I was never had a back, if you get what I mean. I think that's what people say in the policing world, and so I never really had sort of that type of thing. So that was really important. It was almost like having a backer, for want of a better word, and someone saying, okay, if you look at this, do this. You started talking about soft skills, which I'd never really sort of thought about, and all them sort of different ways and different sort of that bring you're asking the questions, soft skills, emotional intelligence, all them things that I've never heard of before. Probably, and they were really key, I think, for bringing the best of Brian Faint out. And I think that was really important. So, that interview, I almost got to the point where it didn't matter whether I got the job or not. It was just to be interviewed was the value I felt. Someone is interested, for a job which paid a significant amount of money. It was never about the money, but it was about just being able to be at that, given the opportunity in front of people to be able to present Brian Faint. And I thought it went really well. And the feedback was reasonably good. But it did give me some great sort of platform for my next applications. I think they started sort of to tumble. I start phoning you every other day or every couple of days, saying, "Oh, by the way." So I went.
Got another one,
National Crime Agency. I'd one there for G3, which was a fabulous job. I had the HMIC. There was a fraud one that I looked at as well. That I got an interview for, and so obviously in the background was the as to where I was before. There was, you helped me prep for the location I'm at the moment and the interview process for that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So so those other roles that you talked about, because the offers started to come in pretty thick and fast, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which was a lovely position to be in. But it did cause a bit of confusion, and I remember us having a conversation going, well, I don't know, what do you reckon? I don't know which one to go for. It was a lovely position to be in.
Yeah, it was, particularly as to where I've been, and it was only a short journey, but it was the most valuable journey in life journey that I've had today.
Yeah,
and I think just having you on my shoulders, just to bounce off was was really, really important, you know,
That's
because it
lovely.
wasn't judgmental. It wasn't judgmental. It was just, you know, me, a friend, you know,
Yeah.
knows what you're going through. And we had honest conversation, knew where to be, and that was really important.
Yeah. Do you remember some of the conversations we had about? I've never asked you this, so it's a good one to ask. But some of the sort of the more mindfulness and breathing techniques, and you know, sort of visualization, positive self-talk, all these sort of things I talk about. How did you feel about all that sort of stuff?
I think for me, I found it really difficult. I must admit, I could never visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though, and actually what you say is right. And, you know, if you visualize it, you're in it. And I don't think I got to a point to be able to, I use some of your breathing. I thought that was quite good, because I did have, you know, sort of a little bit of inner confidence thing. So that helped you breathe and sort of, and also slowed you down from that. So I think the breathing was good. I thought they helped me sort of compose myself, and, you know, because it was a new situation, going to have an interview with an outside agency. But I think I think I can understand the benefits of the visualization, but it, you know, sort of, I wasn't quite sort of in that mindset. I think we were the best way to describe it, Andy. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get it. Totally
get it. I understand fully.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And the reason I asked it is because, you know, different things work for different people, different, you know, methods, and so actually sort of, you know, sometimes picturing things going well, and obviously, you know, with your sporting background as well, and I thought it might work. So that visualizing and picturing something going well, and seeing yourself talking confidently, and you know, presenting well, and seeing them taking loads of notes and all this sort of stuff. But these things take a little bit of practice, and again, obviously with you know, like I say, with, you know, positive self-talk and cool, calm, confident, relaxed, and all these sort of things, these little mantras and things. And it's really just because, you know, we are completely out of our comfort zone, doing something totally new, and having had, you know, 25, 30 years in policing, and all of a sudden you're now way out of your comfort zone, being interviewed by a completely different group of people that you know, work in a totally different environment. And so it's very much around just keeping you grounded, you know, stopping that anxiety from becoming completely overwhelming and those sort of things. So, you know, as you know, that does form quite a big part of what we cover. So we're at the stage now where you'd had a couple of offers, and you've been doing some more work with the Gambling Commission as well. And do you want to tell us where you are now, and how things have gone from here?
I think from my perspective, what had happened is, obviously the vetting came through. This assessment, all the police assessments went online, and I got some vetting through. I did some county lines work, which again was back in a policing environment in the West Midlands. So I was getting the train from Cheshire every day, but it was fun for that month. But then the gambling work came back in, so I set myself up as a consultant, and I had to develop that in 5 police. Well, the objective was to develop the pathway in 5 police forces, and the training and awareness in them forces. So I created I was a program manager for Gambling Related Harm, and that was a sort of 6-month program, and then I got that sort of I delivered in 10 police forces. So there's now pathways in 10 police forces.
That is incredible.
I'm working now still as a consultant of a morning. Sort of working with NHS England and liaison and diversion teams, and sort of developing their pathways nationally with the prisons and things like that. So I'm still doing that aspect of things. But and I was sort of, I got the job offer to go and work in the Cayman Islands, Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, and I had the NCA, a grade 3 at the time, and you think, well, which one? You know, am I going to go? It was COVID, and they weren't sure. Do you know what I mean? And the NCA were pushing. Can you tell us where you joined? That was Warrington or the Cayman Islands, you know? And,
that's a tough one.
But it was a detective's job. So we got the contract 10 days before we flew. Flew out in November the 12th. 2020, and did the quarantine and came out, and I'm working in the family support unit. There's a couple of other English officers, retired officers, who three of us came out. One's gone into sort of the area of business of financial investigation. Another one has gone into sort of major crime review team, serious crime review team, and obviously I went into the domestic violence, as I was domestic violence out here, but it's domestic abuse in the UK, and in the unit there, sort of straight into doing the files and picking up prisoners and sort of putting before the courts, remand applications, all the stuff I was doing in the 90s is very, it came back to, it was great apprenticeship, and that I've been here since sort of November,
Yeah.
There's been it's been a fabulous experience. It's not only, is it culturally it's challenging, the role is challenging, but you walk out your door in the morning and sun shining, and you just have a wonderful sort of lifestyle. And I think the people are lovely, the weather's great, and the lifestyle's fabulous.
That's fantastic, Brian. So happy because, like I said, when we first started chatting, it was clear that your confidence had been knocked a little bit, and you were a little bit lost, and it was just lovely seeing how things grew for you, during the program that we did, and then it was just offer here, another offer, then your consultancy role, and I've just got to say, actually, you shared you very kindly shared some of the work that you did, and it's exceptional. Coming from a project and business change background, which is what I've been doing for the last 6 years. In fact, more than that, if you take into the couple of years in the policing as well, last couple of years in policing as well. So it's almost 8 years or so. The work you've done is absolutely exceptional. Really, really impressive. So you should be really proud of that, because, that is life-changing stuff that you've put in place there. And it's so lovely to see, that you've been able to use all of the skills and experience that you've had in your full career. And you're still doing, like you say, you're working with the NHS and others and 10 forces and all this sort of thing. And now on top of that, the Cayman Islands job as well. And you're living the dream. I mean, just to really depress me, talk me through where your apartment is, what you can see, and what the weather's like.
Sure.
Go on. It's 10 past. It's 10 past 3 in the afternoon here.
Right. It's 10 past 10 in the morning.
Well, the wind chill factor is -10 here today.
Right. Okay.
So just to really depress me.
Well, I've got some palm trees out to the side, and then obviously I can see the sea. I'm in apartments on 7 Mile Beach. I probably, being honest, I wouldn't have been able to afford it had it been in normal times, but with COVID, it's been absolutely brilliant. Sort of, I can walk. There's a poolside bar. There's a swimming pool. There's jacuzzi. There's a cove to go snorkeling, and it's and restaurants and bars are all open. Everything. The only time you need a mask really is at hospital and when you're on the public transport. And I've been very fortunate enough to have the 2 vaccines as well. So, but yeah, absolutely wonderful place. And I think it's made by the people. And the weather is a massive help. Obviously, there's no wind chill factor. So it's everything shorts and t-shirt, and this is the winter as well. So
great.
That's how you did ask me, Andy.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, I wish I hadn't bothered now. But and obviously your other half has now joined you as well, and she's going to spend the rest of your time. You're on that contract. Yeah.
So she's out here. Sort of came out of quarantine yesterday.
Right.
So she had her first drink. She said first time she'd been out in a year socially. So. Which is probably about right, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I haven't thought about it.
Yeah, mate, I am so happy for you, genuinely. And you know this. I mean, I know we've obviously spoken about it, and we've kept in touch, and we obviously WhatsApp and stuff as well, just to see how you're getting on. So I'm so happy. So actually, as we said earlier, I am actually in the process of opening the doors again to the Achievers program.
Okay.
And if it's okay, I just want to talk a little bit about the sort of things that were going through your head, particularly around, is it something you should do? What were your concerns, and what you felt the benefits of actually doing that program were?
I think my concerns were not sort of you feel like a little bit of embarrassment. I think, you know, it might sound strange that you should know all this. Do you know what I mean? Because you've been a police officer for 30 years, you've gone through interview processes, you've gone through, but actually, it was as if you learn it, and that, but it was the realism. I think that course brought for me, in the fact it enabled me to, you know, you put a different perspective. You know, there's particularly that one with how many different roles you can do. You know, all about who you connect with, and how you develop them connections. You know, and I think that's really important. That side. And the other benefits was you're seeing like-minded people who are in similar positions to me, and the real benefits of that is with Care, with Dawn, and the others. You know, it's Kelly. I never know you said Kelly, Dawn, but the others, Mike, and all the ones in our little group really help each other, and the fact we got together. Although I was a little bit so near the end where I said, I've got another interview Andy this week. You just mentioned to me, no. So, but overall, yeah, from a personal perspective, you know, the challenge for me was that sort of, how would it settle? What my fear is? What am I going to learn? You know, what's you know, what do I know? And it just showed it sort of. I think it built on some of the things I already knew, but obviously you added the emotional intelligence, as I said before, the soft skills, and all the different things like that. That sort of, you know, and the guest speakers were really sort of insightful as to, you know, how to improve your CV with Charlotte and different things. You know.
Yeah, no, I tend to keep those secret really, and then just throw them in. So it comes as a nice surprise. But and same again. You know, Charlotte's already agreed to do a session with us as well on CVs and cover letters, because I know CVs and cover letters were a big thing for you as well, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, mate. Well, if you know, you've helped me out on so many occasions as well, when there's been people who I know have felt how you felt as well. And you've helped me out massively with that, and I do appreciate it. And if there's people that want to get in touch with you, Brian, just just talk about some of your experiences, and or if anyone fancies coming out the Cayman Islands, you know, to work out there, that sort of stuff. And obviously with your experience with the NCA as well and Gambling Commission, you know, you've got fantastic, brilliant experience and so much knowledge from those. So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, as I say, from our side of things, you know, our email address, and just email me at brian.faint@beaconcounsellingtrust.co.uk, or, you know, more than happy to, you know, sort of have a WhatsApp. It's my English number, which I'm happy to give out, which is 07519 758 574. So either way, you know, if people connect with me and sort of drop me an email, and you know, and what I really enjoy is helping other people out, and I'm appreciative that you've referred a number of people to me, and I've helped them, and they've benefited. You know, benefited from shared knowledge and how sort of where they were and where they're going, and the more I can help, and more I can help you and them individuals, then gives me great. That's what makes me sort of tick as well. It makes me really sort of proud to be able to help people out.
Yeah, love that. Brilliant. Thanks, Brian. Great talking to you as always, mate. And really appreciate your time, and enjoy the sunshine. And I'll catch up with you again soon, mate.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Andy. Take care.
So lovely catching up with Brian. He's such a good guy, and he has helped me no end as well. And I know he's helped a number of members of the Blue Light Leavers group as well. He just helps to give that little bit of belief that actually there are some amazing opportunities that are open. And the thing I loved about this particular interview was Warrington or the Cayman Islands, which I just thought was brilliant. So massive thanks to Brian for his time today. So if you like what you've heard, then please subscribe, hit 5 stars, and leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let other people know that this is out there. You can also visit the website, which is www.bluelightleavers.com. Loads of information on there for you. And that's it for now. I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for listening. I really do appreciate it. It means a huge amount to me, and I really hope you're getting a lot from them. Thanks so much for your time. Speak to you again soon. Bye-bye for now.